Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to the MyIBSLife podcast. I am very excited for today's episode for two main reasons. The first being that yes, today's guest is Matt from Glutenfree Street Gang, which is a meme account that is tailored to gluten-free content. So if that is something that you would like to follow, I 10 out of 10, honestly like 15 out of 10, recommend following him. He is super funny. He makes really great memes. The second reason I'm so excited for today's podcast episode is because it's the first podcast episode that will be uploaded to my YouTube channel. And if you're watching this means you've already found the MyIBSLife YouTube channel, and just thank you so much for being here. And with that, I just want to say the visuals on this episode are not the best, not the highest of quality, and that's because me and Matt and Jay recorded this on Zoom, and I really just used the recording tool on Zoom to screen record. So bear with me with the visuals. I'm still trying to figure that out to make it better for the next few podcast episodes. But I think you guys are gonna love this episode anyway. We covered a lot of ground, and Matt is just a really interesting, funny, cool person. So I really hope you guys enjoy. And again, thank you for being here and for listening and for watching. And I love you and enjoy today's episode. Okay, bye. Okay. And I hate the beginning.
We can just start.
Okay, ready? Hello and welcome back to the MyIBSLife podcast. Today, we're so excited because we actually have our first real Instagram guest on. And that's
Ooh.
Matt from Glutenfree Street Gang.
Hey guys, I'm honored to be here.
Yeah, thank you for being on my podcast. We're trying something different where I'm going to try, the word is try, to record this, screen record it and then put it on my YouTube channel after. So kind of bear with us if it's not perfect. Hopefully it'll get better as we keep doing these. But
We all started somewhere.
yeah, I just figured it's gonna suck at first and we'll see where it goes.
We're all here for it, don't worry.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So Matt, I will kind of just let you do a little introduction of yourself, who you are off Instagram, who you are on Instagram, and what you've been through and everything. So take it away.
So I don't yet have an elevator pitch for myself with this account. I probably should work on that, but
Me neither.
For those that don't know me, my name is Matt. I run the Glutenfree Street Gang account on Instagram. I started it because about 2 years ago now, Starbucks had this amazing gluten-free breakfast sandwich. And one day they just kind of took it away without warning. And I started making memes to kind of cope with it. And here we are, 2 years later. I have IBS. I, for years, thought that gluten was the culprit. Turns out it's a whole potpourri of things, and it's not celiac. But I still do follow a gluten-free diet because wheat's one of my trigger foods. And part of why I like having this account is I like being able to kind of talk about the funny side of dietary restrictions and try to clear up some of the misinformation with humor. It's an inherently not funny topic, and laughing about it, in my opinion, is the best medicine.
Yeah, definitely, obviously agree with you on that.
Yeah.
It's if you don't laugh at it, you just you would literally be miserable all the time.
And that's how I felt. I felt really alone before I made this account. I kind of just felt I don't know about you, but it was just me. I'm the only one going through this. I don't know I don't have any answers. I think I know what's going on. It was really isolating.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree. I feel it's funny, and some of you may know me, and Matt went live, I think, a week ago now. So some of this might be a little bit of overlap. But for me, I think we talked about this last time, but for me, when I was going through, especially at first, because I was diagnosed 13 years ago now, IBS wasn't even as, normalized as it is now. Because, even when you, watch TV, there's commercials for IBS drugs now and stuff, it's still not normal, but it's more normalized. And so back then, no one talked about it. And so I felt, and I was a teenager, I was, kind of going through puberty. It's just, a horrible time to have to deal with that on top of all that.
Yeah.
And so I was, so embarrassed, and I felt so alone, and I feel I felt that way for a long time, too. And now, I don't know if you would agree with this, but now, I don't know if it's just because we have this community now and we literally have like 17,000 people we talk about it with every day. I just feel like everyone has it now. Like, it's not even like a second thought to me. Like, I don't know.
No, I totally agree. Like, I feel like everyone, whether they know it or not, has something that their body can't handle.
Yeah.
But we just found 17,000 of the ones, or 18,000 in your case, of the people that are willing to share and talk about it.
Yeah. I don't know, because I know me and Jay were talking about that.
Right. I think, like you were before, like now that you're in this community, you feel like it's like common, right? But now, like, if you were outside of the community, you'd probably still feel like isolated and everything, right?
Yeah, because I think I was like saying to Jay the other day, like something like, oh, I feel like everyone has it. I kind of talk about it so freely now, which maybe I shouldn't. And you were like, no, I don't think that many people have issues. And I was like, oh, like, that's actually, like, shocking to me.
The only person I could think of, ironically, is my boss. He has, like, celiacs.
Oh, yeah. we were in the car the other day, and randomly Jay was like, do you think my boss follows Glutenfree Street Gang?
We talked about this on the Instagram live, but like I have had a few people that I know in real life follow the account, like, and I don't know if they know that it's me running it.
Right. It's so awkward. Yeah, because we did talk about that last time, and I had one instance of the same thing where a coworker randomly started following me and she didn't know it was me, and then she saw me on the story and was like, what the fuck? And we still haven't talked about it face to face. We've talked about it through other coworkers. But that's funny. So, going back to like your story and everything, sorry if I completely missed it. When were you diagnosed with IBS? That was 2 years ago.
It was a while ago. It was 2012. I just remember like that summer, I was home from like my freshman year of college, and I was just really sick like the entire summer. Like there was one night that like I woke up at 3 a.m. and I couldn't put any weight on like the right side of my body because my leg hurt so bad, and like I simply like kind of walked in my parents' room being like, I need to go to the hospital now. And then I just farted and it was fine. And I'm like, that's not normal.
I'm laughing. No, I'm laughing because I relate so fucking hard. Like,
I just didn't see that coming.
I didn't either, but that was amazing.
It's like, I thought it was my appendix, but no, it was just gas. And like, I just remember like that summer, like, my mom's dad, we were moving him out of his house, and we were being like roped in, like my brothers, my cousins, and I to help. And I was like in the bathroom most of that time, and they were all telling me like you just don't want to help. You're trying to get out of this, and I'm like, no, like I literally just like I need to be on the toilet.
No, yeah, I'm like actually dying. Yeah.
It took me about a year from that to get diagnosed. I got tested for like everything under the sun, and when I got no answers, it was just, yep, you got IBS.
Right.
Here's some Miralax. Have fun.
No, yeah. That was exactly my training too, to like the T. Like, the Miralax is spot on. That's crazy though, because like, like, we laughed when he said that, right? When he was like, I was in so much pain, and then I fucking farted, and I was, like, golden. It's like, but that's, like, the reality of it. Like, there have been, like, still, every night, like, clockwork, 10 p.m., my stomach is murdering me. I can't go to sleep. I, like, can't lay down. And I'm, like, there are some nights I'm literally like, Jay, I might wake you up, and we might have to, like, go somewhere, because I'm dying. And then I burp a few times or something, and, like, it's fine.
At least it's consistent.
I know. So then, like, he gets sick of hearing it literally every night at 10 p.m. It's just like...
It's pretty often. She's exaggerating a little bit. It's not every night, but it's most nights. Night. Like, it's most nights, which is...
I believe it.
Which is crazy to actually say it's most nights. And that's, like, not an exaggeration. It's actually most nights.
Definitely. I think it's even worse during, like, the weekdays for some reason, too. But, anyway. So...
work stress.
I guess so. I think sometimes, but I don't know.
It's also like, sorry to change the
No,
topic.
go.
Yeah, good.
It's like when I finally went to go see a GI about this, and I was told that stress could be a factor. Like, it was just a feedback loop of like, okay, like I need to not be stressed, but I'm stressed that I'm trying to not be stressed, and then I'm stressed, so like I have a flare up.
No, that is like the overarching joke of like our whole community. It's just like, I have anxiety because I have this issue, but this issue gives me anxiety, so now I'm dying, and now I have anxiety because I don't know what's happening. Like, it's just like,
Can't make it stop.
it's
Like,
a shit show. It's a literal shit show. Like, it's just, what do you do? What do you do?
It's a vicious cycle.
Like, I literally need Xanax. Like, I need Xanax at this point. Like, I'm just like, I need something. Give me something.
We've talked about it.
No, deadass talk about getting, like, on something, because I'm like, but, like, that's a thing, though.
There's no shame in that. Like, if
Absolutely
you gotta do what you
not.
gotta do.
Absolutely not. And I remember when I was first diagnosed, the first thing they wanted to do was put me on an antidepressant. Not specifically for my anxiety, but like that's also because you're, the mind-gut connection is like so connected that it would help both like at the same time. I never went that route, but now I'm like kind of considering it because I'm like, okay, it's been 13 years. When the fuck am I going to step up and like try to do something different? But yeah, I know you're 100% right with the stress and anxiety.
It's easy to get complacent with this too, because it's not killing you. It's just really, really, really inconvenient and painful. But it's not shortening your lifespan. So like, I procrastinated for years because I got my diagnosis from a pediatrician. I was still going there in undergrad. And he knew nothing about GI issues. And it took me a while to actually go to the proper GI because I figured, okay, well, I know enough. Like, I don't need to do anything more, even though like pretty frequently I'd just be like dying.
Right. Yeah. That's funny. I still go to my pediatrician, so don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I'm 26 years old,
funny.
and I'm like hanging on to him for dear life. But...
at 26, I was still, I think, going to my pediatrician. Or that was right when I stopped going to my pediatrician.
Gotta love those pediatricians. No, but yeah, that was very similar to my journey too. It was just like he kept trying to do like like blood tests and like simple stuff like that just to see if anything like simple was going on, and then finally I went to the GI. But how was like your first experience with like going to a gastro? Was it like, did you feel good walking out of there, or were you still confused, or like did you feel defeated?
I felt validated.
Okay.
So like this all started after I had like a summer semester overseas in Europe in Prague. Ooh. And I came back, and that's when this all like within a week it just started.
Oh wow.
So I've been like convinced that like mind gut and traveling can shock your gut myself. I've experienced it firsthand. Okay. And when I voiced all these things to my current GI, she told me, yeah, like you're right. This is a thing that can happen, and she's seen it in her patients. Can't explain why. But I walked out of there and cried a little bit because I just realized like, okay, like these things that I've been telling myself have some basis in scientific facts.
Yeah.
Like I'm not crazy. This is real. It's kind of like going back to having this community. Like when I was all alone, not going to see a specialist, not having any friends with similar issues, it just kind of felt like, am I making all this up? Am I going crazy? But having friends that have similar experiences, having a doctor that believes me, it's amazing.
Yeah. No, I ask that because I know that, like, I think you're very lucky in having that experience with your gastro.
Yeah.
Because that's not the case for a lot of people. They go in and sometimes their first, like, 3 gastros are shit. And they're just like, oh, it's in your head. And, especially if you're
She's
a girl.
Still working on that.
Well, I do. I also think that sometimes, I don't know if this is controversial. I hope it's not. But I think sometimes when you're a young girl, sometimes they write you off even faster. Because they're like, oh, like, could be your period or like something, like they're kind of just like, oh, it's probably hormonal, like you're fine, like, you know.
I could see that.
But, or, you know, they think girls are emotional, so they're like, oh, it's the stress, it's hurting your stomach, like kind of a thing. But that's also very interesting how you believe your IBS started, because I've never heard that.
Like, the reason why I went to go see a proper GI was my birthday a couple of years ago. I went by myself to Mexico and just kind of hung out for like a week. And I came back, and for like 3 months, I could not stop like going to the bathroom. And I thought it was just food poisoning because it's Mexico. Like, I probably had like a salad and
Right.
it was washed with some bad water.
Right.
But then it just never went away. And I explained that like this has happened before, and that GI said, yeah, that makes sense. That like travel can shock your gut.
Wow.
It stinks.
But yeah, I hear you on the experiences with GIs. Like, I'll see in my comments on my post all the time, people talking about how their first, second, third GI like just did not believe a word they said, or didn't understand like cross-contamination, didn't understand like any of this, and just shocking that you just playing like Russian roulette with what information that you're getting.
Yeah, that's really how it is. Because I know personally my first 2 gastros were horrible. And the first one I saw, he thought I might have celiacs. And so at that point, I had like gone on a gluten-free diet like voluntarily because my mom had read something about it. And I was on it for about like 6 months at that point. And I wasn't better, but I felt kind of better. I think it was kind of a mental thing too that I was holding on to.
Yeah.
And so I went to the doctor, and he was like, oh, I want to run a test for celiacs. And my mom was like, okay, she's been gluten-free for like 6 months. Because I was like 12 or 13 at the time. So she was speaking for me. And so he was like, okay, well, I want you to go home and eat 7 bagels every day until I see you again in 2 weeks. And like, I just cried because I was like, you're going to kill me. Are you kidding me? Like, I was like, you're going to be kidding me. And then I switched to a different gastro, and he, from the get-go, was just like, she's anorexic. Like, you got to put her in therapy. That was my second experience, yeah. He told my mom, he was like, you know, she's a young girl. She just wants to look good. And that's kind of why I, like, said, like, sometimes they write you off as a girl because they're like, you know, she just wants to look good. That's why she's not eating. She just wants attention, blah, blah, blah. And my mom was like, thankfully I had a mom that was like, you're crazy. Like,
yeah, like, why would anyone choose that? Like,
Right. And, you know, he was like a really old man too, so I just feel like the pairing wasn't great, but thankfully I found my current gastro he's great, but sometimes, like, yeah, I'm envious that you had such a good, like, first consultation. Like, that's amazing, because that's not always the case, but...
Like, I've had friends too that have had GI visits where they've been told, oh, you have an eating disorder. And like, I don't want to invalidate anyone who has that, but like, the friends like, we're like, we don't have anorexia.
Right.
And it's just, it really gets to you after like visit your doctors and go to whoever, and you're just told, oh, it's all in your head. Like, it's something else. Like, try this, try that.
Yeah.
I've had some friends who also have celiac who, when waiting for their to get the colonoscopies, they had to eat gluten again, and it was. They described it as some of them described it as the best because they could eat the food for a little bit longer. Some of them said it's the worst because they were just so sick for those few weeks. But yeah, it's like when this is the one thing that you had that was keeping you healthy, and the doctor just told you, yeah, you're gonna need to take that away. It's not an easy pill to swallow. Right.
Yeah, that's interesting, because on one side you're like, okay, cool, I can go eat cake and like cookies and like whatever, like the doctor told me to.
Like,
but you're the one that...
Oh, cheese, it's perfect.
Exactly, but then you're like, but I'm the one that has to fucking suffer too.
But Why did it have to be 7 bagels a day?
He was just trying. He was just because he asked me.
Like,
He's like,
that's
"What's your
intense.
favorite food?" I probably said bagels, and he's like, "Okay, why don't you go home and eat 8 bagels every day?" And like I was just like, "I'm not doing that." I'm like, sorry. I think I did
It's like, come on,
end up
Carby,
doing
let's
it.
go party.
What'd you say?
It's like, come on, Carby, let's go party.
Yeah. Oh my god. The remix. So there's so many different directions I want to go with you during this podcast. I want to hit all of them, but I don't think I will. But one thing that I actually wasn't planning on talking about, but is an amazing thing to talk about with you, is you love to travel and everything.
Yeah.
And that's a question I get all the time, is tips for traveling with either being gluten-free or with IBS or a digestive disorder. So do you have any tips that you always follow that help you while you're traveling, or?
That's a great question. I have 2 really big tips that have helped me. The first is always bring snacks. Wherever you go, always have something you can eat. I know, speaking from my experience, I usually get hangry anyway, so even if I didn't have IBS or any GI issues, I would be bringing snacks.
Mm-hmm.
But just some bars you can eat, some trail mix. If you're on a plane and they give you food that you ask for gluten-free that's not gluten-free, or if there's no snacks, you have something. If you're out in a place that you don't speak the language and you can't read the labels on things in the store, you have a snack. That has saved me more times than I can count. The other thing is research. It kind of kills the experience, in my opinion, a little bit. When you go to a new place, you just kind of want to walk around, explore, or at least I do, and just find what you can. And there are some places that are friendly enough for celiac, for gluten-free, for IBS issues, that you can do that. But for the most part, there's a great network of people on Instagram that have specifically gluten-free or IBS travel blogs, and I will go through their pages if I want to say, I want to go to Paris, and I will make a list of the places in Paris that I want to hit and plan my days around, okay, where can I eat? Or where can I go that will still allow me to eat at these places and experience local cooking, local baking.
Yeah.
And when I was, so for those who don't know, I usually live in London in the UK, and I was in Edinburgh for New Year's, and the UK is phenomenal for gluten-free food. It's just next level. And I was able to just walk around Edinburgh and just find places that were not only gluten-free but celiac safe. So I knew they were taking it seriously.
Oh wow.
And if there are places that you can kind of get that spontaneity, but for the most part, planning and bringing some food of your own is critical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's awesome advice. And that was something I wanted to ask you about, was because now you don't live in the U.S. usually, you're over there. And I was I wonder how different it is, between here and there, in terms of, accessibility to, gluten-free stuff and everything. But it sounds like it might be better over there?
It depends.
Okay.
In the U.S., in my experience, when you're eating out, it's dicier on if places will take you seriously, or if there's gluten-free options, if they know what gluten is. However, if you go to the typical grocery store, I know being on the East Coast right now, the selection of gluten-free food is just phenomenal. The snacks, the breads, everything. And for the most part, bakeries that have specialty goods, Modern Bread in New York, they're my favorite bagel, anywhere. They're better than most gluten bagels, and they're all gluten-free. Odd Bagel in California, and I know Posh Pop in New York as well. They'll ship to you anywhere in the country.
Oh, wow.
Especially now with COVID, they're trying to get their business booming, so they will ship. In the UK, I found eating out is much easier. Most places have some variation of vegan, celiac safe, gluten-free, or are just entirely gluten-free. just the options are just endless. However, in the grocery store, like, you don't have the same selection. Like, you're not going to find like a Costco of gluten-free food in central London, but the options are still there.
Okay.
It's wild how good the food's gotten. Like gluten-free, vegetarian, all those type of food have just like progressed so much in the past, like, I don't know, 10 years. Like, I remember having like things
world,
10 years ago, it was horrible. And now you can have gluten-free stuff, vegetarian, and it's like good or even better sometimes than like, you know, the real non-gluten-free, non-vegetarian stuff. It's crazy.
Christine, do you follow a gluten-free diet at all, or do you?
I don't anymore. I tried it twice, both for between like 6 months to like a year. And I didn't see enough benefits in how I felt to like keep it going. And I've been kind of on the border of trying it again, just to see. But like, even with what Jay was just saying, like when I did the gluten-free stuff, it was like back in what, 2007, 2008, and like,
oh wow,
yeah,
a while ago,
yeah, and that was when like being gluten-free wasn't like very popular, like because, you know, it ended up turning into a fad, right, and everything, and so things kind of got better because of that. But back then, it was fucking horrible.
Yeah, it's
like,
bad.
To find bread was not a thing. Pasta was okay. But, like, I have, like, such a sweet tooth, so I love, like, cookies and, like, stuff like that. And that was hard.
We should order some of these bagels.
Yeah, I'm actually very intrigued.
You absolutely should.
Yeah, we're big bagel
And also, if you
people.
have a sweet tooth, look at Posh Pop. And also, Dana's Bakery in New York City.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to look into that.
What was the one? Posh Bagels?
Posh Pop.
Posh Pop Bake Shop is the bakery. Dana's Bakery is bakery. And Modern Bread and Bagel is... they do some other baked goods and some, like... If you go to Manhattan, they do have, like, a sit-down restaurant. It's incredible. But they do mail-order bagels and, like, cinnamon rolls.
Oh, shit. That's a game changer.
It's like, just hook me up.
Honestly, like, getting on the website now. That sounds awesome. But yeah, that was another thing I wanted to get more in depth with you about, was because I thought you had celiacs until we had our live last week, and then you casually were just like, "Oh yeah, I don't even have celiacs," you know. And I like blacked out during the live, like I didn't really comprehend everything that happened, and then like, not because of alcohol, just because like, let me make that clear.
I figured it was like a figurative.
But then after the live ended, like random, like a half hour later, I just looked at Jay and I was like, "Did he say he didn't have celiac?" And he was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Okay, mental note. Let me ask more about that next week." But yeah, like it's very interesting because I know that a lot of people that don't have celiac still follow gluten-free diet, but like so what happens when you have gluten? Like you just get like all your symptoms back, like bloating and having to go to the bathroom and stuff like that?
One, I get when I've since learned the issue is wheat. I followed a gluten-free diet for years, but a gluten-free diet eliminates like basically all wheat anyway. So, and also at this point, I feel like being on a gluten-free diet is part of my identity. So I say gluten-free versus wheat-free.
There you go.
But if I have gluten or wheat, I get really fatigued. I get really bloated. I usually it really depends how my gut's feeling. I either can't stop going to the bathroom or I can't go for like 3 days.
Gotcha.
All I want to do is just lay down and drink tea. Like, I can't focus because of brain fog. It's like it's bad.
Yeah.
And I found that in general, like anything more than like soy sauce with sushi will kind of trigger it. I do try and be mindful because like I thought like I didn't have this information for years. I just thought, oh, like I don't know what I have. It's this IBS thing, but it's caused by gluten. it wasn't until 2 years ago that I realized that gluten doesn't cause IBS. It's wheat that is the trigger.
That's interesting.
But now that I have this account, like a lot of my followers have celiac, and I try to be mindful of making content that doesn't alienate anyone that has celiac, that has like IBS, that has Crohn's, because there's all kinds of conditions that require gluten-free diet or like a limited gluten diet, and like even if people do it by choice, like I'm not going to judge for that. I try to be inclusive because I've been there.
Right. No, definitely. I know. I kind of started thinking of how like that. I mean, it's not. I don't know if it would be hard per se, but like you really do have to be kind of mindful of what you're saying in your memes on your account, because like you don't particularly have celiacs, but you're catering to that audience. So
yeah,
that can get tricky. I feel like sometimes for now.
It can. And like we've talked in the lab a bit about this, but if I post something that's like 0.1%, like maybe not like totally 100% right, I will get lots of angry messages saying like exactly what is wrong.
They will let you know that you fucked up.
Even if I post something that is right, I will get occasionally messages from people that are angry saying, well, this doesn't relate to me because I have this different flavor of whatever condition. And again, like, I don't want to invalidate anyone's experience because like it's like I'm not one to judge and I don't want to judge. But it can be challenging trying to make memes that like kind of skirt through all the little barriers that I've kind of found over the years.
Definitely. Yeah, because you're right. It's like when people don't agree, they let you know. They're like, I'm
sure you're well aware.
That is not right. And you're like, okay, I'm so sorry. You're right. But yeah, let's talk more about like your actual Instagram account. So you've been running it for 2 years and you have like built this amazing account. Like you have your own personal little community, and it's like I just remember when I talked about this last time, but like I just remember when I first found you and I was like, someone has done this and like created like this thing, and like it's so cool. Like I was just so excited. So but how has it been like over the years? How has it changed? What like difficulties have you had? What good things have happened? Like I want all the details.
So when I first started, like if you go way back to the bottom of my feed, like I was a bit more loosey-goosey with what I made, and as the account grew, I think there was some point that I had this like oh shit moment, and it was either I can stop this now or I need to commit to doing this. I'm sure like you must have had some similar experience, but yeah, I just tried to like tighten things up a little bit, make the formatting more consistent. Last fall, I finally made like a logo, and I tried to like get a color scheme so like just like tighten things up a little bit. Don't have like a certified gluten-free logo as a picture anymore.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's been amazing. It just like knowing that I'm making a difference in people's lives is just what keeps me going. And we're talking on the live, but yeah, my future plans like with it, like I have a domain name purchased. I'm trying to start a blog. I've been quite busy with things in quarantine. Like I've been keeping myself productive in other ways, but I'm trying to get a blog started called Low FOD Matt, like Low FOD Matt, but Matt.
I love that. No, I love it.
And yeah, I want to do that because I feel like it'll validate my experience a bit more. Having IBS, and I can focus that content more on that with the gluten-free flair versus having gluten-free meals with an IBS flavor.
Cool.
While keeping this account running. I'm not going anywhere with the memes.
Yeah. No, yeah, I feel you on that. And that's funny because those were all the questions I wanted to ask you. Like, because I know you just, like, you, like, really branded yourself, like, just even a few months ago with, like, your new logo and everything, and I wanted to know if there was, like, any, like, meaning behind, like, the fonts, the colors, anything. I'm a marketing person, so I, like, actually like knowing those details, and if you picked that stuff for a particular...
Good question. It was a bit intentional. So the name of the account, I played on a soccer team when I was living in Boston. Our name was the Retirement Home Street Gang. And so I kind of poached the name Glutenfree Street Gang from that. And I personally love it. It seems like
I love it. It's very perfect for like a meme account. Like that's a perfect name. Like I don't know, like Street Gang at the end is like...
Yeah, I was like, for memes, I'm like, this is great. I got a bunch of angry messages when I first started it, being like, the name Street Gang is so insensitive, blah blah blah. And like, it's a meme account. Like there's a meme account called Fuck Jerry.
Literally. Like
that's a popular one.
Yeah, there's like one that's called Crazy Bitch Probs. Like
I know they're all crazy.
Like pick your battles.
Yep.
But my favorite color is blue. And kind of like speaking of travel, like I went to Iceland a couple of years ago, and you can snorkel in this like glacial like lagoon. I don't know how to describe it. But when you're snorkeling in there, like the colors are like this. The bottom is like brilliant, like kind of like tan, and the colors are like very deep blue to like turquoise.
Okay.
And I was like loved that. I love that color palette. So I tried to kind of keep the branding with those colors in mind. The font, I just went on defont.com and found ones that were available for freeware and that I liked. So, yeah.
Cool. No, yeah, I just always like to know like why people picked certain things, but like that gives meaning to it. So it's interesting to know that, you know, it's kind of related to like an experience or whatever. So, or to what you like and everything. So that's really interesting. Yeah. So that's cool. So what have you had any like challenges with this account at all? Like I know we've talked about people getting angry at like certain stuff you post or whatever, but is there like anything else you've kind of experienced or anything interesting that people maybe that people wouldn't know about your account or that you've gone through or something?
I guess that the hardest part is there are days when I just don't feel creative. There are days that I just don't feel like I want to do anything, and like I'll have a long day at work, or like I just won't really have like the mental capacity to go and like answer like the 50 unread messages in my inbox.
100%.
Like I just don't want to post a meme, and so it can be hard like trying to like just like in the back of my mind like knowing that I want to grow this account, I want to like be doing I want to put my full energy into it, but just not having the energy can be a hassle at or like a problem at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Have you thought about, maybe this is too far along, but have you thought about just like full-time doing Instagram, dropping what you're doing?
Yeah, that was actually one of my questions for you.
She wants to do it so bad.
I have some coworkers that follow me, so like I know that might stir the pot, but I would love to be a full-time influencer.
Right? I mean, it kind of sounds like you're taking steps to go that way anyway, because you're trying to start this blog. Like you're building on your account. You're not just like sticking there. You know what I mean?
I've told some friends like I want to have like a gluten-free like IBS empire. And
yeah, fuck yeah! Ooh, I'm so down with that.
Thank you.
No, I love that.
Yeah, I would I would love to kind of build a career on that. Like right now, like I have a job that I really enjoy. I have coworkers that I enjoy. Like I have a stable path, but
right.
There's not a lot of creative room in like doing what I do, which is accounting software. So this is fun. This is like a nice creative outlet.
Sure.
And if I can make it bigger, great. If not, I can't say I didn't try.
Yeah, 100%. And that was also something I wanted to ask you, because when we talked on the live last week, I think both Jay and I were surprised that was your career. Because not because it's like weird or funny or anything, but it's just like I never would have thought someone that like picked that career would also be like not creative, but just outspoken about problems and stuff like that, and like kind of like a public figure almost. You know what I mean?
That's that's a really good point. I never really considered that. At my company, we're on the smaller side. There's about 50 of us in the US and me in the UK. And on my team, a good number of people have some sort of dietary challenge, whether it's like a corn allergy or my manager's daughter has celiac. There's people that like are gluten tolerant, and then you have me and another coworker who just kind of have like a whole like laundry list of what we can and can't have. So when we have our team meetings, it's usually a challenge to figure out something that we all can eat, and we always kind of talk about this stuff anyways. Not the point of like we're making poop jokes, but like amongst ourselves, like we do have this kind of conversation. So it's not like a stereotypical like stuffy office environment. Like we are on a more like friendly basis with each other. Mm-hmm. And given that so many of us have dietary problems, the conversation kind of starts itself.
Sure. And that's awesome that you have that support at work, because I think there's a lot of people struggle with holding like a job while having these issues, and they feel alone at work, or like no one understands or whatever. So that's awesome that you have that.
I think probably the best part of my job is the work from home. At my previous job, when I was in an office every day, like it was the absolute worst when I was just dying at my desk. Mm-hmm. And like just waiting until 5, not doing much. But this job, I have taken multiple Zoom calls in the bathroom after I've had like a bit too much cheese.
Really?
Like
Wait, what?
like it's.
What do you have on the back? Like
put a green screen.
Yeah, like put like something like.
I haven't put video on.
Okay.
It's just kind of nice, like that. Like I don't have to worry about like having a rough day with my GI issues. Like I don't need to worry about like being like in my work clothes in an office. If I'm on a client site, I need to worry about those things. I'll eat very well when I'm like traveling for work. But for the most part, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. No, that was another question I had for you, because like I know you just moved and everything. I was wondering if you worked remotely or if you were like actually going into an office every day. So that's interesting. I have one of your memes pulled up right now because you just talked about it. You
probably know.
I saw that. I know what you're talking about.
So was this one built on like experience you just had before you made it? I love that. Because when I saw that, I even commented on it from like my Rinsta. And I died at it, but that's so funny to know that like that's actually a real life experience. For those of you who are just like listening, I'll try to pop it up on the actual screen. But Matt made a meme the other day that said me after ending another Zoom call without anyone knowing I was in the middle of a gluten episode on the toilet. So that's just hilarious that you even brought that up.
It's like Homer Simpson through the window, sitting on a toilet, screaming.
Fucking love that. Is there like...
Hope my coworkers don't judge me for that one.
They're probably like, ooh. No, they're going to ask you where you are every time you're on the Zoom call.
Like, are you on the toilet again?
Cannot confirm nor deny.
Yeah, no comment. So going back to your account, are there any memes that are like your favorite that you've created that you're like just, oh, I can't believe my brain thought of this?
I know there's a few. I'm just like am like mentally scrolling through my timeline.
Right.
There was one of like Lizzo playing the flute that I made last summer, and it was like my stomach after gluten, and it's her just like twerking and playing the flute.
I remember
and,
that
like,
one. Yeah.
Like I am like that was a masterpiece in my opinion. There was one that I made that I carefully photoshopped the squatting trendy women, like into the gluten-free ad. It was like me reading all the labels on all the boxes.
Oh,
like,
I remember that one. Yeah, that was good.
And
So you came up with your own picture and everything on that one?
yeah, that one I kind of like I photoshopped the pictures together, so it was
awesome.
I painted in Microsoft Paint the pictures together. It's not like a science. It's more just carefully like selecting the edge of the picture and pasting it carefully.
Yeah.
Is there any others? There's one again, like more back in my earlier days. It's a clip of Kris Jenner in a helicopter, and she's doing like this, and the helicopter's flying, and the caption's something on the lines of like when there's like a gluten-free brownie on the menu at a restaurant.
I love a good Kris Jenner meme. It's always my favorite. That's funny. It's funny too how you said before how like when you first started, your content was like over the years you've now like it kind of is a science now. You have to make sure like the formatting looks correct and it's like aesthetically pleasing and stuff. Like how did it look in the beginning? Did you used to just like kind of throw up whatever or?
Similar, but they'd be like it'd be kind of like cropped. Those would be kind of cropped funny, like they'd be like lower quality.
Mm-hmm.
And I cared, but I didn't put as much effort into detail as I do now.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was no logo. It was just backtracking. I remember about a year or so ago, there was an account that their timeline was exclusive or like at least 2/3 my content, and they were using it to sell their products. And I tried asking, hey, can you just like credit it back to me? Like, cause I was like, it's like, I'm trying to grow my account and they blocked me.
Are you kidding me? What?
I'm not kidding you.
Did you block them?
No, but they had 2 other accounts in their profile, and then I blocked those accounts.
Good.
Okay.
But they haven't posted. Last time I checked, they hadn't posted in like a while. So,
drama in the IBS community.
Yeah, it was I'm not asking for much.
That's wild. Like that's wild.
I know we've had this conversation a little bit like on Instagram, but like I personally love when people share what I make. I make it to be like spread far and wide.
Right.
But I drew the line at like you're passing this stuff off as your own, and then you're using it to sell your stuff. But like it just kind of it didn't sit right.
Right. You're trying to like make a profit off my work.
Yeah, that's dirty.
That is dirty. Yeah.
But I'm also curious to ask you a question. Like, what do you think are the elements of a good meme?
Ooh. So I guess just from when I try to make them, like, I always so if it's a meme with a picture, I like the picture to be higher quality, like you said, because sometimes after screenshot of a screenshot of a screenshot of a screenshot of a picture that has gone through like 500 meme accounts, it literally looks like ass. And then I have to go and try to find that original picture somewhere. So I think that helps. And then making sure, which I have posted these, but like making sure no one else's like handle tag is in the picture. I hate that. I've started just putting my own over them, which is shitty, but whatever. And then
as long as you're not like stealing it completely, like I feel like that's like.
Because it's coming from one of those stupid accounts like Crazy Bitch Problems. I'm like, I know you stole that somewhere. So. and you have like 500 times the followers than me, then you're fine. Like, I wouldn't do that to like a smaller account, but and then I always try.
The bigger ones fuck them.
What'd you say?
But the bigger ones, fuck them.
Honestly, oh no, actually, I have a funny story. There's one meme of mine I made that was very.
Oh, I know this one.
Are you feeling
Sorry,
okay with the Mona Lisa thing?
Yep.
I was so mad because all of the big meme accounts took it, and then like clothing brands were posting it on Twitter.
Are you serious?
There's a clothing brand called
cross-platform.
Yeah. There's a clothing brand I follow called Pretty Little Thing. They're huge, and they took it, and then put a link to like new clothes they were selling. I was like, bitch, where's my profit? Where's my portion?
The nerve of some people.
I was kind of fangirling because I was like, oh my god, it's me. But it was sad that it's literally on like every meme account now. And I'm like, I want to repost that one on my profile because sometimes I just repost old ones that did well. But I'm afraid people will think I stole it. But I made it. But anyway, going back to what makes a good meme. I always play with the formatting of the words too, just to make sure they're not too big, they're not too small. Like it doesn't look funky, and yeah, I don't know. As long as it's like clean and crisp, like I think it's like good. And I look at it, I'm like, would I share that? Okay, I guess it's good enough.
Like, if you saw it, like, would you like it?
Exactly. That's kind of, and that was actually something I wanted to talk to you about too, because we sit here and we're like, oh, making memes is like not rocket science, which it's not, but you kind of have to have like a certain knowledge of internet culture to make successful memes that people like laugh at and share.
No, you're exactly right. Like, you have to be like a certain degree of online to
yeah, you kind of have to know like
100%.
the look, the feel, like the sense of humor and stuff. Like,
yeah, I'm not online. I have like 20 followers on Instagram. And like I literally I so like disconnected with the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like
I could never make these type of memes. Like, it's crazy.
Like, you do
I
kind of
say
have to
never,
have
but,
like a certain
I'd have to put a lot
knowledge.
of time and like learn all this stuff. But right now,
Yeah.
like if I made I've made memes and they're just complete garbage. They're like not funny at all, not relatable.
That's true.
So it's hard. It's actually pretty hard. You guys are good at it.
No, that's fair. Like, when I did start taking this like more seriously, like I learned pretty fast, like the memes, like they can't be too specific, but they can't be too general. Like there's a really fine line of like what is like good content.
Yeah.
Like what's the right picture to use? Like what's like if you keep if you have like a paragraph in the caption, like do you need a paragraph as like your like header, or like can you put it in like 5 words?
Right. Yeah.
Like I guess to us like it's not rocket science, but there is like a methodology to make a good meme.
Yeah, because these are none of my like followers or anything. I'm not shading any of my followers, but I've had, and I'm sure you've had this too, where like meme accounts that are just starting and they're just like looking for clout or something. Like they'll message you and be like, can you shout me out? And you'll like, it doesn't even have to do with IBS or anything. It's literally, they're just trying to be one of those like big meme things.
Yeah.
And you'll go look at their memes and it like, you can't follow it. You're just like, oh my God, what are you trying to say in this? Like, this is crazy.
So kind of on that note, if you go to the hashtag gluten-free memes now, you'll see gluten-free memes. If you looked at that 2 years ago, it was like I can only describe it as like a bunch of 12-year-olds with like Fortnite accounts, like doing like weird things. and I think it was more kind of like an ironic hashtag at that point, but I took it back.
That's hilarious.
But I've gotten that. I've gotten like accounts that have like nothing to do with gluten-free, IBS, anything like that, ask for shout outs. And I feel bad because I can shout them out, but I found that the engagement when I post something that's not gluten-free is so small. I've tried like posting one thing that is not rated GF, and then immediately after something that is weighed, like it's like food or an account that's weighed that, and the difference is like incredible. I posted pictures of dogs that were like, hey, follow my friend's dog account, and it's gotten like they've gotten no followers.
Yeah.
And so I feel bad, but like I do try to be open that like, look, I can give you a shout out, but like it's gonna do no good. Like,
right, it might not benefit you.
Like the hive mind wants gluten-free and gluten-free only.
Yeah. No, that's 100% true.
Is that the term for your audience? The hive?
I either call it the hive mind or I call them they. Like they don't like that.
That's funny. We've been talking about like Jay wants to name my followers something. I'm like, I don't know if I'm at that point yet.
I know there's some bigger podcasts that have, I guess the followers have like titles, but
right.
Yeah, I'm not there yet either.
No.
Yeah, no, I was just being like sarcastic.
Yeah.
I have a pet name for her, and then I just started. Well, we have pet names for each other, and it's a very lame name. It's it's a joke in itself.
But he wanted to start calling them that, and I was like, no, we're not doing that.
Maybe in private.
No, because then I'll actually start calling them that. That's so funny. But that's actually something I've noticed about your account too. Is like you actually are very generous about like posting like so many different people on your stories. Like you're always like taking from other people's accounts and then like, you know, tagging them and everything, and that's like I like that because a lot of people, no, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but I think there are accounts where they'll only post themselves, like they can be kind of selfish in what they're posting, but like I like that you really try to, if you like something, you post it and you tag that person. I like really like that.
I'm glad that it's been noticed. Like kind of going back to what we're talking about when it first started, like I didn't have a lot of information when I first started out with gluten-free diet, and when I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on in my stomach, and I know there's a lot of people that follow my account that are like just getting started with this too. They probably found it by searching gluten-free memes, and so I try to like link to accounts that I find helpful, the content that I like. I try to be mindful that I'm not like posting the same accounts over and over again, or that like I'm not like ignoring people that like I've become close to them with on Instagram. Like I don't know about you, but I've made some really good Instagram friends, and I try to make sure that I kind of keep them all in the loop. And when I was starting out, they promoted me a little bit, so I'm trying to like, keep that in mind. Like as I've grown and been like, look, I'll send like people back your way. Like you make good content.
Yeah. No, yeah, I love that you do that, and I have noticed that. I feel like you always have different people on your stories, because I like to post other people's too, but there are definitely times where I'm like, oh my god, I've posted Jonathan from Food Challenge Guy every day for 2 weeks.
He makes great graphics.
He's so good. Like I can't not share it. But I'm like, okay, let me post someone else, and I'll come back to him. But yeah, I've always noticed that on your account, and then like sometimes it triggers like my mind to be like, okay, like, you know, start sharing other people, start looking for new things, like stuff like that. So I just, I wanted to shout you out on that because I think you do like a really good job
Thank you.
with that. I know I asked people to send in questions for you. I did it really late, so I didn't get that many. One that came in.
We got 3. I shouldn't say that, but
we got one.
I think you know the.
2 are from that.
I was 2 of those.
There is one that says, any suggestions on a gluten-free low FODMAP homemade bread?
Oh, a homemade bread. Oh, I've never made my own bread. I've made like my own like baked goods, like bagels and all that. The place that I would say to look, the account that I've found the most helpful in making like bread-ish products is Glutenfree on a Shoestring. I know they have their bagel recipe is out of this world. It's really involved with mixing different kinds of flours, but those bagels were like out of this world when they came out of the oven. So I'm sure they'd have a good gluten-free bread recipe. I'm not sure about low FODMAP. However, you may be able to modify the recipe if needed.
Gotcha. Cool. And then I'm just looking through my questions I had for you. I think we literally touched on pretty much everything. I guess like the only, I have 2 questions and then we'll kind of wrap things up. But so now that you live, well, not right now, but you live in London usually, how different is the healthcare systems between there and here?
That's a good question.
Have you had any experience over there yet, or?
Yes.
Okay.
I know this can be like a hot button issue. So,
Okay.
but just from like a state of my experience, I had to go to a doctor over there not long after I moved. It was not an emergency, but basically like finding a doctor is nothing like finding a doctor here. Like there's websites that you can go on that list the available NHS practices that are within your address range, and there's another place you can look that has all of the practices ranked and like graded on their performance, on their patients that are registered, on like wait times, on the quality of care. Like you get surveys after you go, so you can like have an impact on like how other people see the practice. I don't have like a GP or PCP. Like I went to like the practice, and when a doctor freed up, my name went on the screen, and I went in. It was a 10-minute appointment, so I kind of like got right into business and was like, "Hi, like I know you don't know me, but like here's the problem," and it was very efficient. I didn't miss the kind of one-on-one, like your doctor knows who you are kind of care, but I appreciated that when I needed my follow-ups and everything, the total cost was £9, and that was for the prescription. I came here, I got a little injury in spin class before I left London to come back here, and I wanted to make sure it wasn't serious. Finding a doctor that would see me with coronavirus was an issue on its own, but the only person that would see me was my old doctor back in Boston, so I drove out there. I got a bill for last week, and it was $242. So while I appreciate the quality of care that I got, I'll take like the 80% level of personable care for not having to worry about how much I need to pay to get said care.
Yeah.
Yep.
That can really stop you from even wanting like the care if it's like too much up front. You know, you're just like, I'll wait it out. Maybe it's not a big deal, and then who knows? So
I have worried if I catch corona here, like I do have insurance still, so like it's not like great insurance,
right.
And I've wondered if I need like a ventilator, like how am I going to pay for that? But like there are pros and cons to each system. It's just there's no like one size fits all answer to healthcare.
Right.
Yeah, that's just a question.
The real truth, actually.
I get that question a lot because I have a lot of UK followers, and I guess I've talked on some of our older podcasts a little bit about our healthcare system, just from like experiences I've had, and like they're like genuinely confused. Like they're just like, what the fuck is happening over there? I'm like, I don't even know what's happening there, so I don't even know where to start. Like, and then I've had people from Australia like even be like, you guys have doctors specifically for kids? Like they didn't know what a pediatrician was. And I was like, oh my god, yeah. And they're like, can you do a whole podcast on that? I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't know.
I think a good idea for a podcast is like a typical or not to say typical, but like if you have IBS, if you have dietary issues, like this is how you could go about getting that in the US.
Yeah.
And it might be a good roadmap for someone that is looking for that.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
And also, I'm not sure if you sounded like a bit like shocked that you had like UK followers. So IBS is, at least in my experience, much more like open in the UK. There's a couple of accounts that are bigger. Becky Excel is probably the biggest. She's English and posts a lot of like low FODMAP IBS tips, also like mental health and all that. And she's a fantastic influencer. Other than that, like 50 FODMAP London is someone that I follow. The GFG, like there's a whole kind of potpourri of gluten-free IBS crossover content in the UK, and I'm not surprised that a bunch of people in the UK started following you, because they're probably looking for, if they're looking for like gluten-free humor, I'm sure they're looking for IBS humor.
Yeah, no, I think a majority of my following is from the UK, and that's always blown my mind. I'm like, what the hell? I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. And they're also always like, oh my god, your accent's so cute. I'm like, oh my god, I talk like trash. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway, that's a different subject.
We'll stop at you.
Yeah. But that's interesting, though. Yeah, because I've always been curious as to why or how they found me or whatever. But that's interesting. But do you have any other questions for Matt? Or
No, I think we covered a lot.
I think we covered a lot.
We covered a lot.
And even like some from before, but I think we talked about a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
No, yeah, and I wanted to like kind of get more into the like I feel like I could just like it's been very interesting to get to know your story and how your brain works and everything with Instagram, and I feel like I could literally talk to you for like 8 hours and just like keep like going and
that'd be a long podcast.
Yeah, we're already at an hour and 5 minutes, so I guess we'll cut things off. But I would love to have you again later down the road, and we can kind of talk about some more topics and everything, and you know what you go through in London and everything. But thank you for being here and being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. I was so excited that you were like our first like real guest. I was like, hey.
Yeah, it's been fun. Cool.
Is there anything else you wanted to say or wanted people to know about you, or obviously go follow Matt. Go follow Matt at Glutenfree Street Gang on Instagram.
That's a critical one. But no, I think that's like we covered more than I thought we'd cover. So awesome.
Good. Cool. All right. Well, thank you all for listening. Again, go follow Matt at Glutenfree Street Gang. I don't know if I actually ever said it in this podcast. He makes memes about being gluten-free. Probably key to know. Hopefully you got that as we talked about it. But he's hilarious. He's one of the first accounts I started following and had any interaction with when I started my IBS life. So I feel very connected to Matt. So he's a good one to go follow. But yeah, thank you all for listening. I don't know when we'll do another podcast. They're kind of sporadic. But yeah, that's it. All right. Bye, guys.